Hello and welcome to Endemic Times. My name is Amira. Last November, I covered the massive layoffs that were occurring in the tech industry after the announcement at that time that Amazon was laying off over 10,000 employees, which was huge news and a concerning move for the future, and multiple other tech giants followed suit. There was a big signal at that time that due to the Federal Reserve interest rate hikes and the unprecedented growth that these companies found during the pandemic that was beginning to wane because of the tumultuous market that was looking like a recession was in the near future. Those fears of a recession have also been covered in this video where I discussed the Davos 2023 World Economic Forum, where almost every single economist feared a very weak growth for Europe and the US. Those fears are coming to fruition with the recent news this week that Amazon is going to be laying off an additional 18,000 employees, making this move now the biggest layoff for the company. I want to say first that a lot of the layoffs don't really need to be happening. The reason why they are happening is because of the stock market and the increased shares that these companies were able to glean during and because of the pandemic. And they don't want that wealth to dip. There's also the dynamic of worker power that was cultivated during the pandemic and the multiple strikes and demands that have been coming from the worker class that are seeing the huge gaps in wealth accumulation at the top that isn't being properly distributed to the workers that produce the goods and services for which these CEOs and executives are greatly benefiting from. Workers started to call companies bluffs and got a little bit for the first time with wages. That was before the Ukraine war and inflation and recession fears ruined the economy. All of those gains that workers made during the early days of the pandemic have faded, and this move from multiple corporations is showing us exactly what they are doing. They are getting back at workers, and that's what the Federal Reserve said its goal was, which was to bring wages down, creating a recession for workers, but keeping those share gains in the stock market going. It's a shit show and a big FU to the workers that have built these companies up to their success. Now hit that like button, subscribe so you don't miss any videos, and share with your friends. Now let's get into it. For the first time since the pandemic, businesses now expect job reductions at their firms and to spend less on expansions. Business owners are concerned that the Fed's decision-making is pushing too hard on the economy, creating recession fears. Hiring in companies has gone from a projected +8 in October to now a -7. This basically means that companies are going to continue layoffs across all sectors, which should put all workers on notice. No one is safe here. Unless you're an executive, then your bonuses and golden parachutes are probably fine because companies love to make sure that those at the very top are secure and taken care of at the expense of the little people that they see as expendable and could give two shits about how any of this is going to affect them. One of the major layoffs that is occurring now is from 3M that plans to cut 2,500 manufacturing jobs and forecast a gloomy first quarter because of a slowing demand for consumer and electronic items. Sales in their fourth quarter fell 6% to $8.1 billion. Well, yeah, because disposable income is non-existent for many, many people right now that are dealing with food basics like eggs, milk, and proteins being astronomically priced because of the bird flu eviscerating the chicken population, supply chain strains, and frankly, our government's refusal to do anything about the price gouging in a substantial way. Then there's Amazon. The largest layoffs in the company's history started this week with layoffs affecting roughly 18,000 people. 2 different letters were sent out to different teams. One from Beth Galetti stated that they are reducing roles across people experience and technology. In the US, packages include a 60-day non-working transitional period with full pay and benefits, plus an additional several weeks of severance depending on tenure, a separation payment, transitional benefits, and external job placement support. CEO of Worldwide Stores, Doug Harrington, provided in his letter that these layoffs are an important part of a wider effort to lower our cost to serve so we can continue investing in the wide selection, low prices, and fast shipping that our customers love. So you're telling me that you're going to fire over 18,000 employees while this guy with so much wealth that he couldn't even spend it in all 3 lifetimes gets to just keep raking it in? I mean, he could take a pay cut for 1 year, which wouldn't phase his bank account, and he could keep all of these workers in a job. This is why this kind of wealth that is not getting equal taxation compared to the lower 99% infuriates me. He doesn't need this much wealth. While workers are dying on the production floor, pissing in bottles, passing out because of heat exhaustion, and dying because of failures to provide a tornado shelter. This is a broken system. Moving on to Google, it's eliminating 12,000 jobs, which is around 6% of the full-time workforce. Some of the laid-off staffers had long tenures and were recently promoted. And to add insult to injury, those that were laid off were removed from the internal system without warning. A commenter during the town hall that took place discussing these layoffs said, "We severed access for 12,000 employees without the chance to perform knowledge transfers or even let them say goodbye to their colleagues. This is what we do to people who get fired?" Then the question was asked, what's the message for the rest of us that are left? I'll tell you what the message is, that every single one of you is expendable. It doesn't matter how long you've been dedicated to the job, how many extra hours you have worked, and the connections that you thought you cultivated. This is a business, and the business motto in our capitalist system tells everyone that business is business. It's not personal. Even though many of us spend more of our time at our jobs than with our friends and family. If you want to see more of my thoughts on the failures of our corporate structure, you can check out this article that I wrote last year, and I will also have a link to it down in the description box below. At the Google Town Hall, the question was asked on how these cuts are being made and how employees who have been with the company for 15 plus years were targeted. VP Brian Glasser said, "We all know that no one is immune to change in our careers." Another executive added that the skill set, time and role where experience or relationships are relevant and matter, productivity indicators like sales quotas, and performance history. That's corporate speak for if we like you and you're doing good, we'll likely keep you. But if you have good performance at your job, but people don't necessarily like you, or if you aren't licking your boss's boots, look out. But if you're an executive at Google, don't worry, you're still getting your bonuses. It's just going to be a little less, and instead of getting the full bonus in January, like you usually do, it will be paid out at 80% in January, with the rest expected in March or April. And then there's Salesforce, that said in January that it would eliminate about 10% of its workforce, which had increased more than 60% in almost 3 years to about 80,000 employees by the end of October. Some of that growth came from multiple acquisitions, including a 2021 takeover of Slack for more than $27 billion. Salesforce has had much higher expenses compared to its peers. Spotify is also cutting its workforce with plans to cut 6% of its workforce. At least the head of Spotify was kind of honest, saying that I was too ambitious in investing ahead of our revenue growth. Yeah, and now look at what's happened. Spotify's investments inflated their expenses while their revenue slowed. Those at the top are going to sit pretty. Those in the middle are going to be working harder with less support because we know what happens when this level of massive layoffs happen. The people that are left have to take on more and more work because the executives see this as an opportunity to get the workers that are still around to work harder, doing more than they usually should, putting what used to be 2 separate people's jobs onto one person, if not 3 or 4 sometimes, and those workers won't say anything because they don't want to lose their jobs. As I warned back in November, when many pundits on mainstream media were trying to act like this wasn't across-the-board layoffs and really only focused on the tech industry, these layoffs are happening nationwide and across multiple industries. Take the Washington Post, for example. They are cutting 20 newsroom positions, with another 30 open positions being eliminated, with those being laid off being those employees that are not essential to serving their competitive needs. Their layoffs were spread across multiple departments and included the elimination of Launcher and Kids Post. Then there's the trucking industry. Waymo is killing its trucking program, letting go of engineers, recruiters, fleet, and vehicle technicians. This comes on the heels of Alphabet, Google's new parent company, cutting the 6% of its global workforce. Like Waymo, Too Simple, an autonomous trucking competitor, recently laid off 25% of its staff in order to streamline operations and keep the company in business. So what does this mean for the bigger picture? This means that we are seeing a reboot of the 2008 recession. It's not going to look identical, but it's going to hurt just as bad and just as much, if not more, because of all of the other factors that are happening right now. I get it. This isn't good news, and it's daunting and scary. Yes, Yes, it is. But we have to acknowledge this reality. If we don't acknowledge it, we can't do anything about it, and we can't prepare for it. And what many people did during the 2008 recession, like going back to school and taking out loans, has shown that that is not the way to go this time. It's about reducing as much debt as you can, not getting into debt, and finding innovative ways to make money. The global world landscape of economies is changing, and the US is not immune to this change. As is the goal here, it's about staying informed, as difficult and trying as that can be. If there's one piece we need to take from this, it's that we are more connected than we realize. Us, the 99%, need to find our solidarity because we are getting screwed by the elites and our corrupt politicians. So please stop fighting amongst each other. It's not helping, and it's exactly what they want. If we come together, we can beat this. We just need to find that solidarity. Well, thank you for watching. I hope this video provides some insight on what's happening and what's likely coming for the future. If you haven't already, please hit that like button, subscribe for more, and share with those that you think might find this helpful. If you'd like to learn more about our economy and what got us here, you can check out this playlist right here. Thank you again for watching, and please stay safe, take care, and be kind to each other.